This is the injury report presented by NYU Langone Health. All right, Yankees baseball is back in action. So in today's injury report, we have Dr. Daniel J. Kaplan, Sports Orthopedic Surgeon at NYU Langone Health, to discuss Yankees shortstop Anthony Volpe's recent comments about his shoulder surgery and the torn labrum. Doc, appreciate you hopping on. There's a lot of Yankees fans that are watching this because they think that Anthony Volpe used this injury as some sort of excuse for his down year. And I always talk about how we have to protect the player from himself. He initially injured it on a dive on May 3rd of 2025, but he still played through most of the season through the injury. You can see it there. Did he make it worse and make his recovery time longer by trying to play through it?
In fairness, they haven't released exactly what type of labral tear he has. There's a couple different varieties with a couple different problems, but throwers traditionally have posterior or slap tear labrums, so around that biceps tendon. So the short answer is yes, you can certainly make it worse. Throwing is about one of the most violent motions someone can do in the body. It's not natural. It's an incredible amount of torque and stress on the shoulder and the elbow. So you can certainly make it worse by continuing to play through it, but not so much so that it would probably make a ton of difference in his recovery post-surgery. The surgery would be about the same, and the follow-up in the rehab and his return would probably be pretty similar. So yes, was it a little worse versus if he got surgery immediately? Maybe, but it wouldn't actually change what we would have to do in the operating room.
All right, well, good for him. It was his non-throwing shoulder, so that hopefully that kind of makes the recovery time a little bit shorter. But when we talk about his rehab, and I'm sure this kid, he gets after it when it comes to his workouts and his rehab. What is the biggest challenges of him getting back to 100%? Like the regaining the arm strength, regaining the range of motion. Like what obstacles is he facing?
Yeah, and you're definitely 100% right in terms of being lucky that it's not his throwing motion. The throwing motion is such a precise, unique motion for individuals, and not everyone's is the same. So if he's been a certain way his whole life, if you lose that throwing motion, even a degree here or a degree there, that can change you go from an all-star to a bench player. So fortunately for his glove side, it shouldn't have quite the same ramifications, but it is still hard, particularly at the position he plays where range of motion is key. After any shoulder surgery, range of motion is always the biggest problem to get back. You can always work on strength. You can always get, some of that strength back after training, weightlifting. But flexibility is hard because the second the surgery ends, that clock starts ticking in terms of scar tissue forming. And that's what all of the early and mid phases of the rehab are, just motion, motion, motion. So that's what he'll need to work on the most to get back.
Yeah, I remember when I had surgery on my knee, on my meniscus. It was the scar tissue during the rehab where I thought that I wasn't getting better. Like the doctors and the trainers were saying, no, the knee is getting stronger. Look, you're jumping, you're doing plyos. But that scar tissue had it in the back of my head that no, there's pain here. I feel this pain. I can't be getting better. So there goes that mental hurdle that he's going to have to clear as well to feel like he's 100%. And I mentioned how this guy attacks his workouts, how he's attacking his rehab. I mean, this is a kid he's ready to get back to that gold glove form and get back on the field to shut up a lot of the doubters out there. So let's say he passes the test that doctors put him through, but the arm isn't fully healed or physically ready. What type of setbacks are we looking at, and could those possibly cost him the season?
Yeah, and just to build off that last point you made about your own recovery, athletes like Volpe, you guys are like such well-oiled machines that any small variation makes a huge
Yeah.
difference. Versus if I, hurt my knee, tore my meniscus, I'm walking around, I'm standing in the OR, I'm playing with my kids. I'm probably not going to notice a big difference. There's not, I'm not pushing it the same way you guys are. But for professional athletes, that in lies the difference between you and me, for instance, where any small difference can have major, major changes. So that's why everything has to be so specific and highly curated with each of them. In terms of your second question about getting back too early, the biggest thing would be at that point, probably the strength in the arm of the surrounding muscles. I'm sure the tear would be healed by the time he goes back. But the question is always, are those other muscles ready to support that strong, if not throwing, but the range he would ask his shoulder to go through to make some of those diving catches. So if you come back a little too early, usually it's more in the muscle strain variety, like something wasn't strong enough quite yet. You make a weird motion, it's not, the muscle's not ready for it, and you injure it and you need, just a couple weeks out. That's on the more mild end. On the extreme end, if those muscles aren't working properly, you're going to ask more of things like ligaments or a labrum to support the shoulder. Then that could lead to a re-tear, and that would hypothetically be season ending, but that would be less common.
You guys are awesome over at NYU Langone Health. So let's say there was a Yankee fan out there who was loud on Twitter last year when Volpe was going through this, and he or she is a non-athlete, but they suffered a partial labrum tear. What would their recovery look like, and how does that normal Yankee fan rehab this injury?
Yeah, so for a partial labral tear for, keyboard warrior as opposed to actual, gridiron warrior, um, there's a good chance we could treat them non-operatively. If you're, like I said, the sports motion, throwing, diving, that's just asking a tremendous amount of the shoulder where even small negative alterations could have major consequences. But for the average person, I would certainly try to treat that non-operatively, steps 1, 2, and 3, or plans A, B, and C rather, for months. And if they really couldn't get back, then they would get the same surgery that Volpe did. I just think it would be less likely to really be necessary in someone like that.
But they'd still be 100% in terms of their fingers and shoulder for the
Their
keyboard,
trash
though,
talking
right?
wouldn't change at
Okay,
all. Yeah.
okay, there we go. The Yankees fans, you can still trash talk if you partially tear your labrum. You have it right there. Doc, appreciate you hopping on with this, man.
Oh, it's fun to be here. Thanks, Brandon.